Music biopics. They're a tasteful way to introduce someone to somebody, a musician to an unknown group of people. And I think I'm not unaware who Bruce Springsteen was or is, but this movie definitely gives you a chance to experience maybe his life or his story or his development a little intimately. And I would say for people don't like music biopics. I think they're crazy, mind you, but I would say this music biopic kind of did it a little differently than the Elton John music biopic or the Bob Dylan music biopic. This one felt a little closer to me in watching it. So with that being said, welcome to Movies-aRe-USS, a satire movie podcast that acknowledges life imitates art and art imitates life. So movies are the story of the human and nowadays AI experience. So grab your popcorn and let's talk about Springsteen, Deliver Me From Nowhere. So this movie was a music biopic, like I said, and it stars the actor from, I think most notably, The Bear. I know he is a part of the Shameless cast. Wasn't the biggest Shameless fan personally, but he's a good actor, and he's also in the Iron Claw with Zac Efron, which I haven't seen, but I do know he's casted in that film as well. And this movie takes a moment to give you an intimate experience for a music biopic, I would say. I think most music biopics, you end up watching more so how this musician deals with the success of their career. Elton John, Bob Dylan, just as a couple off the top of my head to be referenced throughout this episode of other movie biopics or music biopics I quite enjoyed. Both of those had a hard focus on this idea of this person being famous and this person struggling due to drugs or alcohol or these other things that are coming along with the fame that they have now found. Whereas in this movie, when you're learning about Springsteen, it feels kind of, you felt in the album making process, you felt the movie was more so wrestling with Springsteen's creative art and how he creates art versus has many biopics do wrestle with how was Springsteen potentially dealing with his fame. There's no part of this movie that goes into that, in my opinion. It truly stays focused on the music. It truly stays focused on the interpersonal relationships behind the music that Bruce Springsteen was making at that time in his life. And you kind of, when watching the movie, you felt involved in his album making process to me because there was such a pullback from fame or drugs or alcohol or women or all these other things. And this movie is rated PG-13. So I think that's a strong reason why those things, Bruce Springsteen was a rock and roll star in the 80s, right? So I'm sure those were involved in his life, but with them going and opting to make the movie PG-13, it kind of let them not have to deal with those concepts and gave the movie a little bit more heart, in my opinion. One of the things I kind of like the most about the movie and kind of learning about Bruce Springsteen, and I think you learn about this from a lot of artists in their movie biopics, but the fight these artists make to keep their music authentic to them. It was him wanting to record his songs independently, front to back, before ever going to lay records down in the studio. Him and his manager's relationship as he's attempting a newer sound or a different sound than what has brought him his original success. In hindsight, in the flow of his career and dealing with the expectations people have that, hey, this ain't the music that was selling. Like, let's just make the music that was selling. And he's like, no, I don't. That's not what's on my heart to make, so I don't want to make it. And I think it's about any craft, right? I think it's about anything you do. Is your heart involved with what you got going on? Jeremy Allen definitely shines in this movie. I think he obviously has grown from his Shameless days, grown from just being some form of TV actor, and definitely this movie gives him the sense of star power, the sense that he can act, he can carry the movie as a lead. Because me personally, I would argue I've probably seen him in more ensemble roles and co-star roles than I would say I've seen him as the lead actor of a film. So this is kind of the first one I think he's done in his foray, his walk into that space. One of the aspects that kind of stuck out to me in this movie was how they intertwined his experiences as a child and dealing with the perception of experiences of childhood, right? So there's scenes where he's sitting outside his house and then you'll get involved in what was happening, and you're seeing directly how these childhood experiences are influencing what he's writing, how he's writing it. There's a scene where he writing a song and realizing he was the character in his song. He goes back and changes the words from the song from third person to first person, and the differences that can make in your creative process for anything that you're really doing. One of my favorite lines from the movie, and this isn't verbatim, but it's the sentiment of the line, was his manager was talking to him, and he said, "Where you come from is gone. Where you thought you was going was never there. Nothing outside of you can give you a place. Inside of you is where the answers are." And that kind of just spoke to me, because this whole movie is a very somber tone movie, but it has a lot of heart. It has a lot of feeling. If you're willing to sit down, and I know people don't always like, oh, I don't know who Bruce Springsteen is. I will say, and I do have to say this, compared to other music biopics, this movie probably didn't influence me to go now listen to this musician as much as other music biopics have. But it's still a good movie. And I think if you enjoy, a good song, if you enjoy Shazamming some songs while you're at the theater and just sitting down and enjoying the experience, it's definitely worth the watch. It's definitely worth the watch. No Oscar winner here, no best movie of the year, but definitely has a lot of heart, and it was good to see Jeremy White step up and lead a role the way he did in this movie. When it comes to that childhood perspective, I did like how they dealt with those concepts, because there's a scene in the movie where a guy pays for his dad's drink at the bar, and the barkeeper says, "Oh, well, he's a nice man." And then the dad asks him, "Oh, am I a nice guy?" And Bruce doesn't respond, because as you're watching his childhood, as you're watching the abuse he saw his mother deal with, he dealt with, and the things that created him to be who he is, he was still willing to take care of his parents. But in that scene, I felt like he wasn't willing to lie to anybody, though. Like, I'll take care of you, I love you, but can I say you're a nice guy like this random bartender has? I can't do that, And so that's an interesting concept I think a lot of people deal with from their childhoods and from their lives, of still maybe being involved with people, but those experiences shaping your perception of somebody. And I felt like that those scenes really gave the movie the life of being able to feel who Bruce Springsteen was from this movie's account. So we're at the bottom of the bucket where there's nothing left but the kernels. Hop down below. Let me know if you're checking out Bruce Springsteen, Deliver Me From Nowhere. If episode. Make sure you like, share, and leave a comment. Follow us on Instagram at MRU.podcast. Another episode dropped. Another episode's coming. We're all in the process and the flow. So, thank you all for giving this a listen. And I can't wait to get back on this mic and talk to you again about our next movie. Thank you.